Mystery adventure, multiple endings. Okay.
Hey, you're alive. When I dragged you out of the river, I thought you were never gonna wake up. I checked your pockets for ID, a phone, maybe. I hope you don't mind. But all I found was some loose change. So, wanna tell me who you are?
Select your body type. There we go, Caloria.
Well, it's nice to meet you. And I'm sorry to pry, but any idea why you were floating down the river? What's the last thing you remember?
I don't remember anything.
It does look like you took a pretty hard blow to the head. You're just lucky you've been given a second chance. Which is why I feel terrible for what I'm about to say, but I have a favor to ask. There are some ruins just behind you. Roman, I think. I need you to go in there and see if you can find a guy named Al for me. He went in there a few hours ago, and he hasn't come out. I've been freaking out, wondering if he's trapped or injured or worse. I would have gone in after him, but he made me promise to stay here, no matter what. There's no way I'm leaving without him, so I'm just kind of stuck here, waiting. What I mean is, I was hoping you wouldn't mind going in there to find him? If you can do that, I can get both of you back to civilization in my boat. Please?
Mind if I ask some questions first?
Oh, of course. Sorry, I don't mean to be pushy. I just... What do you want to know?
What's your story?
Oh, there's not much to tell. Feels like I've spent my whole life in a dead-end job with an endless commute. Know what I mean?
You're not even going to tell me your name?
Oh, I'd rather not say if it's all the same to you.
Why don't you want to tell me?
All right, fine. Sorry if I sounded cagey, it's just that I don't always get the best reactions when I introduce myself. My name's Karen.
Well, thank you for saving my life, Karen.
You're welcome. Always happy to help. Was there anything else you wanted to ask?
Who is Al?
He's the guy who washed up on the riverbank not long before you did. I thought maybe you two knew each other. I guess not. But maybe the two of you can piece together what you're doing here. In any case, you'll like him, I'm sure. Once you find him, that is.
So where are we?
You really don't remember? We're in Italy.
Italy.
This river is the Tiber.
Can you tell me about the ruins?
Not much, really. But imagine what you might find in there. Priceless ancient artifacts. Al...
Have you tried calling for help?
What am I, an idiot? You could hike a long, long way in any direction and never find another soul. Trust me.
No, have no idea. That's all the questions I had.
Great. So you're ready to go look for Al?
I'm going for the priceless artifacts, but I'll keep an eye out for him.
My hero. The entrance is just past those columns behind you. Oh, and he left this here. But I think you'll need it more than I will.
Flashlight, heavy duty battery powered flashlight. Okay, we are gonna have to not have it on Epic, that's for sure, as it's set it to, or let's see, high, medium, go with high, put shadows on medium. Okay, I never heard of that meme at all. I would say never heard of that. So that meme meant like nothing to me. A rusted metal torch, which must have been lit by Al. I'm going the right way. Good job, Glory. You inspected the torch. Hey, you can run.
If you're reading this, it means I've discovered the entrance to an ancient Roman city hidden deep underground. Its existence is long forgotten, all knowledge of it lost, except in the Latin inscription here. It reads, "You who wish to enter the city, step forth and be judged. The virtuous shall be rewarded with eternal life in paradise. The wicked shall find themselves showered in gold, but in vain, for this shall be their final resting place." Could an underground city have remained a secret for all this time? Could people have survived down there, against the odds? It seems there's only one way to find out. If I'm not back in an hour, I'm somewhere on the other side. Consider this an invitation. Or a warning. Al Worth.
A game, not 15 different games once. Backpack. A backpack full of worn hiking clothes and empty food packets. Nothing valuable here, but still it seems strange that Al left it behind. No. Oh, what the? And I had time to inspect it. Sometimes I do. Depends if it's an interesting games for me. Wonder if there's gonna be battery time here or not. Interesting art. Latin plaque, which, given its position, seems important. If only I could read Latin. Yeah, Gloria, why can't you read Latin for me? I know you can. Tropicata Venifs. Okay, that is really Latin. Roman gladiator mid-stride. What could have made a gladiator flee? Well, the game said you couldn't. Young Roman woman looks like she was begging for her life. Roman military commander attempted to scramble away from something. A Roman legionary in a state of terror. Like the background music. Hitting. Roman woman who appears to be praying for help that never came. He fell over. Sure.
To whoever reads this, I'm sorry you had to find me like this. And worse, that you'll suffer the same fate I did. I've spent a lifetime in this place, going around and around in circles, searching for a way out.
Quid pro quo.
The inscription was right. There is no way back. And here there are only two options. Death, or that godforsaken doorway into the past. I made the mistake of stepping through it. I wanted to set things right. And I tried. I really tried. Whatever I did, it took me right back to the beginning. Don't make the same mistake. Better to end it all now. And find out what awaits you beyond that portal.
Roman woman in a state of panic. Roman man on his knees as if begging his gods for mercy. Hey, we found a portal. Let's just go into it. Okay, hold shift to sprint. Ooh. Roman relief depicting a great circle portal and two women. I wonder who they could be. I'm looking at apples. I'm not even looking at that thing. So funny how it comes up when I'm pointing right there.
Salve, friend. I'm Galerius. Mind telling me who you are and what you were doing in the Shrine of Proserpina?
Are we gonna make you lie, Gloria? Are you a liar? Shrine of Proserpina?
Yeah, you know, agricultural goddess of springtime? You're not from around here, are you? Oh, I see what you did there. Changing the subject like that. Nice try. But I'll ask again. Who are you? And what were you doing in the shrine?
Are you speaking English?
What? I'm speaking Latin. You are too, although your accent's a little strange. And you've just done it again. You're a sly one, aren't you? One more time. Who are you and what were you doing in that shrine?
Is it typical of you, Gloria? Not answering the question, he just goes around it.
No idea what you're talking about. Oh,
Okay.
wait. Are you a bit, you know, not right in the head? That's all right, friend. Everyone's welcome here.
Sorry, Gloria.
We sort of lose track of the date down here, but it feels like the beginning of spring to me, so I'd say early March?
What year?
It's 817 AUC. Sorry, you look confused. 817 years since the founding of Rome. Which part of the empire are you from, exactly?
Doesn't help me. Is this before or after Christ?
Hey, not so loud. Just saying that name could land you in trouble here. If you haven't heard, his cultists burned down half of Rome last year. Horrible business. I heard Nero executed some of them, but a lot of people are still angry with them, even down here. So, if you're one of them, keep it to yourself. But listen, most folks seem a bit confused when they get here, but you seem very lost, and in more ways than one. So, let me make this nice and simple for you. Live by our law here, and we'll all get along just fine.
You lost?
Not laws, law. There's just one, the golden rule, and the punishment for breaking it's kind of horrific. But our magistrate insists we take all newcomers to see him, so I guess I'll let him fill you in. So then, you coming?
Alright, lead the way.
Follow me. When I first arrived, I couldn't believe there were people living down here. But, as you can see, we've got a nice little community now. Only 23 of us at the moment, if you count the 3 who are missing. No idea how, since nobody knows a way out. But it's just big and dark enough to get lost in, if you're not careful.
Aren't you going to introduce me to your handsome new friend, Galerius?
Keep it in your loincloth, Aurelia. I'm taking him to see the magistrate.
That pompous old bore won't be magistrate for much longer. Anyone who helps vote him out today drinks at my bar for free tonight.
Politics. I'd stay clear of it and her, if I were you. She's, It's not my place to say. Down on your right is our farm, where I grow all the food you'll ever want. As long as all you want is leek, cabbage, and wheat. That one usually gets a chuckle.
The bloodless shadows wander without flesh or bone.
Don't mind Livia. She means well. She's just been in a bad place since... Well, you know, I don't know what happened to her. Up here on your right is the chasm. If you've got a weapon, it belongs way down at the bottom. Up on your left is the forum, where you can visit the market or get yourself patched up in Lucretia's clinic in the Shrine of Apollo. Most of us have almost nothing, just what we had on us when we arrived, and what we've been able to make and scrounge up since. And this central plateau is where the magistrate and the other patricians live, so don't expect a warm welcome.
Hilarious. You're meant to be working the farm, not trudging dirt into the villas.
Take it easy, Horatius. I was just taking our new friend here to see the magistrate.
Well, he's asked me to escort the newcomer personally. The farm. Go. Now.
You'd better go with him. But just remember, they're not like you and me. Don't let them use you.
What was that? What did you just say?
I said it'll take some getting used to.
I'm watching you, farm boy. Greetings, citizen. My name's Horatius. Magistrate Sentius asked me to escort you to him personally. Follow me, please.
What's this about?
I expect the magistrate wants to brief you about the Golden Rule. It shouldn't take too long. He's busy preparing for the election later today.
Yeah, alright,
Follow me.
lead the way.
The only thing you really need to understand right now is the Golden Rule. Let me see if I can explain it this way. When I was serving in the Legion, if there was a mutiny brewing in one cohort, the legate in charge wouldn't waste time finding the bad apples among hundreds. They just divided us into groups of 10, made us draw straws, and whoever drew the short straw had to be executed by the other 9. Didn't matter whether he'd done anything wrong. One of us in 10 would die for the crimes of the collective. We call it decimation. If that seems like rough justice to you, you're in for a rude shock. Because the Golden Rule is exactly 10 times worse. The magistrate can explain the rest. He's up these stairs.
We're finally alone. I assume you already know who I am. May I know your name?
I'm Colorio.
A curious name to match a curious accent. But I digress. Now, you're probably wondering why I summoned you, and I'll get to that. But first, take a look at this wondrous place, would you? A secret city built deep in the mountains many hundreds of years ago.
Beautiful.
Indeed. More importantly, consider the miraculous community we've built here over the last 7 months. 22 complete strangers brought together by the fates, living and working together in our own little paradise. And in all that time, not a single sin has been committed. No fights, no theft, nothing. Have you ever witnessed something so extraordinary as a city without sin?
Can't say I have.
Nor could I until I came here. But the reason for this miracle is as simple as it is terrifying. If even one person commits a sin here, every last one of us will die. You see, the builders of this place, whoever they were, left inscriptions warning, "The many shall suffer for the sins of the one." From what we can gather, breaking the law here will anger the gods and provoke a terrible punishment. Like the curses of Medusa and Midas combined, turning us all to gold. We've come to call it the Golden Rule. It's extraordinary that we've survived as long as we have, and each day I grow more and more afraid that our time in the sun is almost up. And now it seems that day is finally here. All that matters is that somebody in this city is about to break the Golden Rule. Why else would Proserpina send you now? Unless you and I can stop them, our doom is assured. I know that's a lot to take in, and you look like you have questions. Please, ask away.
What counts as a sin here?
An intelligent question. There was a good deal of debate about that in our first weeks here. Does it refer to crimes or to some other ill-defined wrong? Of course, everyone agrees on the basics. No theft, no assault, and certainly no murder. But beyond that, it was more difficult to reach a consensus. What about lying, insulting someone, blasphemy, trespass, trying to escape, bribery, infidelity, suicide? As magistrate, I had to exercise leadership, and so I made a decision. We must uphold the laws of the Empire to a standard never before seen. And we must honor the peace of the gods, the sacred accord between the gods and the people of Rome. It is only by offering the gods the proper respect that we may prosper, as Rome has for centuries.
So if that's a good idea, what is legal isn't always moral, and many of your laws and customs are considered barbaric where I am from. I think we go with this one, makes sense to
I'm
me.
glad you agree. The key things to remember are that we have laws forbidding treason and blasphemy, murder, assault, and rape, as well as theft and arson and so on. I have made my pronouncement on the subject. Unfortunately, there are still those here who resist, whispering blasphemous and treasonous lies in the shadows. I would be keeping a close eye on them if I were you.
What did you mean when you said Proserpina something?
You see, in my search for a way to save my people, I learned of an ancient ritual to Proserpina, the goddess of the cycle of life and renewal. It's said to open a doorway in time so that if the unthinkable happens, one person can pass through it and travel back to the past. And when I saw you arrive in a flash of light from the goddess's shrine, I knew that person was you. You don't belong in our time, do you?
I have, CJ. You're right, I'm from 2,000 years in the future.
$2,000 years? That is unfathomable. Please tell me, in your time, what did you see? What had become of us? Of this city?
Oh, you wanna know the truth, huh? We had all been turned into golden statues.
I have imagined it, our downfall 1,000 times, but it still breaks my heart to hear the truth of it.
I have streamed the Spec Ops a long time ago, I think.
All I can tell you is that it's a ritual sacrifice to Proserpina. I stumbled
Maybe.
across instructions.
I
have to recite a prayer, and of course, as with
Yeah, it
all
is.
rituals, some sacrifice is involved. Usually that means wine or food, or in some cases a live animal. In this
Yeah,
case,
they have
the
streamed it
sacrifice
too
is rather more
on this
costly.
channel.
The life of the person.
Yeah, they were
performing the
before
ritual.
that madness.
I don't suppose you saw any sign of me in the future?
Did see human remains in the temple.
I assumed that was me. If I'm forced to perform the ritual, it's going to cost me everything. You'll try to make sure I don't need to use it, won't you?
Do my best.
Well, I suppose that's all I can ask for.
Why can't you investigate?
Well, I believe you're in the best position to go around asking people questions. You're new here, and it'll seem perfectly normal. As for me, well, it pains me to say my attempts to impose order have not earned me many friends. I fear I may not even remain magistrate after today's election. The people here would only treat my curiosity with suspicion. You shouldn't have that problem, though, unless, of course, you get off on the wrong foot.
Fair enough. You have any suspects?
Do you ever stare at a problem for so long that you can't see it for what it is anymore? What's needed here is a fresh pair of eyes. The less I prejudice the independence of your investigation, the better.
How do I know you're not the person responsible?
Me? Why would you suspect me? I've just told you, I'm about to sacrifice my own life to ensure these people have a second chance. What reason could you possibly have to suspect me, of all people?
Good point.
I'm glad you think so. Without trust, without each other, we won't be able to prevent what is about to happen.
Okay. Come on, tell me what you really think.
Well, all right. There are those who wish to vote me out of office so that they can pursue their own misguided political agenda. Frankly, their selfishness and recklessness risk destabilizing the entire city. I would be looking very carefully at them if I were you.
That's a little bit shame. That's like the new Marvel game. What is it? Guardians of the Galaxy game. Has a lot of great music in it, but people who streams it turns it all off, of course, because it's all TMC music. But it makes the game totally different, though. How can we understand each other? I don't speak Latin.
You mean you couldn't speak Latin before you arrived here? How strange. But the gods are active here, and their temples and shrines hum with power like nowhere else in the Empire. Perhaps when Proserpina brought you here, she planted the seed of Latin in your mind so that you could better serve her.
Awesome.
Indeed.
If we do this, will you help get me back to my own time?
If I understand Proserpina's ritual correctly, that problem should take care of itself. Let me see if I can explain. If you manage to prevent the sin that breaks the Golden Rule, I won't need to bring you here. I won't create the portal, and you will never have been able to come here. Thus, you'll have created a paradox. If this occurs, you should be flung back to your own time, having changed the past for all of us. Make sense?
I think so. That's all the questions I had.
Ah, good. So, are you with me? Can I count on you to figure out who's about to break the Golden Rule?
Alright, I'm in.
Wonderful. Now, I need you to investigate the city, talk to everyone, help them if it'll win their trust. I authorize you to enter private homes and inspect possessions and documents, unless, of course, you're asked to leave. Figure out who the culprit is, and as soon as you have a name, come back and tell me immediately.
Right, I get started.
Oh, and one last thing. If I were you, I'd start my investigation by visiting Lucretia at the Shrine of Apollo in the Forum. I heard wailing from there not long ago. It seems like something's not right.
Let's see what I can do. Okay. Let me get some more coffee. Let me start investigating. Right back. Okie dokie. The objective markers for given quest. Click the eye icon. Old household shrine where ancient Romans offered a daily praise for protection. Note from Scintilla. Scintilla to Sentius, may Jupiter, Optimus, Maximus continue to protect and guide you. Thank you for making me your daughter and for the lovely birthday pendant. I promise we'll wear it always. It's so safe and fortunate to have you as my father and Sentia as my sister. I sense you have been feeling apprehensive about the election next month, but if you can just show them the strong and dependable man I know you to be, you will be re-elected, I'm sure of it. Okay, so talk to everybody he said, so stranger. Is her?
Oh, I wish Horatius would stop letting barbarians in here. What do you want?
So what's your story?
I'm Sentia, eldest daughter of the magistrate. But you'd know that if you'd been invited in here and introduced properly. What are you doing in here? And why are you dressed like that?
I'm around here.
Really? I'd never have noticed, what with your flawless accent, appropriate attire, and impressive mastery of our customs. Now, remind me, why are we having this conversation?
What do you think about the Golden Rule?
You know, some people say it's the creation of an all-seeing God who's watching everything we do. But what kind of an awful, incompetent God would let my sister go missing on his or her watch?
Good question.
Did you hear that? Curse you, you coward! Where is my sister? What do you have to say for yourself? No response. Nothing. That's what I thought.
Well, at least we know blasphemy doesn't break the golden rule.
I'm telling you, this mysterious god of ours has to be asleep on the job. Either that, or like people are saying, it really is just a children's fable my father is exploiting to frighten us into behaving.
I suppose we'll find out sooner or later.
I suppose we will.
Do you know a way out of here?
Ugh, what is it with you people? You heard the rumor that my little sister escaped and figure I must know a way out too. Is that it? Well, that's just a stupid rumor. We have no idea what happened to Scintilla. I wish you mouth breathers would just leave me alone.
Can I help?
I don't know. Can you? Can you tell me how a person could have disappeared from a city with no exits and no crime? Was she snatched away by the harpies?
When did you last see her?
It was 3 weeks ago. We ate our evening meal together, and I remember she seemed happy. In love. We went into our rooms, I went to sleep, and when I woke up, she was gone. That's it.
She was seeing someone?
I think so, yes. But she was very careful about keeping his identity a secret, even from me.
Why is that?
Because our father had plans to marry her off, eventually, and even a rumor about her attachment to some mystery man might have ruined those plans.
Your father didn't mention any of this when I spoke to him. Any idea why?
That doesn't surprise me. To him, it was like a prize cow wandering off from its paddock. He's upset, of course, but he says he's too busy with the election to help look for her. So he's letting Horatius do the heavy lifting. Some good that's done.
Is it possible her lover was involved?
I don't know. But it's been 3 weeks since she disappeared, and he hasn't come forward. That might speak to a guilty conscience. All I know is, whoever he is, he's still here in the city.
Sentius, Scintilla. Why are your names all so similar?
You really aren't from here, are you? All Roman women are named after their fathers. I think it's their way of branding us, like cattle to be sold at market. His family name is Sentius, so I'm Sentia because I'm the eldest. And my little sister is formerly Sentia Minor, but she's affectionately known as Scintilla.
You look surprisingly relaxed about your sister's disappearance.
I hope you're not insinuating I'm somehow pleased with her disappearance.
Just an observation.
If you must know, I'm here because my father has forbidden me from leaving the villa. I couldn't bear to lose you too, he says, as if he loves me, and not because he needs at least one daughter he can trade off.
Okay, that's all the questions I had.
So you'll help me find her?
Alright, I'll do it.
Oh, thank you. You should probably take a look through her room. It's the one just by the front door. Maybe you'll find something the rest of us missed.
Let's see what I can do.
Thanks. I'd appreciate it.
Can we talk about Scintilla?
Of course. What have you discovered?
Nothing yet, I keep
Yes,
investigating.
please do.
I mean, it's like kind of feels like playing Skyrim. I just wanna loot check all these barrels and loot them. No doubt unpleasant cooking with such poor ventilation, but Romans probably regard that as their servants' problem. Small vial containing a rudimentary perfume made from flowers and oil. Sculpture of Ares, the Greek god of war known to the Romans as Mars. Cynthia's journal. Dear Diary, today my father suggested I write a diary as a way of keeping myself occupied while we all deal with the sudden and devastating disappearance of my sister. As a dutiful daughter, of course I shall oblige. The following pages contain my innermost secrets. Reading mode. I know you're reading this, Father. I may be young, but do not think me stupid. We're all entitled to our secrets, Cynthia. Aww. I didn't pay attention to that one. Bottleneck. Ink yard. Ceramic ink yard. The ink appears to be made from soot and water. Brass mirror. Brass has been polished into a rudimentary mirror which has been used for applying makeup. Wow. Brass jar contains some sort of powder for makeup. There was something. Scintilla to Sentius and Sentia, may Clementia give you the strength to forgive me. Sorry to leave you this way, but I have found a way to escape and I must take it. I hope we meet again someday.
Keep an eye out for Scintilla, would you?
What have you discovered?
When I left her in her room, she mentioned her plan to escape.
What? Really? I swear, I searched her room top to bottom and never saw that. I wonder how I could have missed it. Strange, but well done, I suppose. But it's odd. It was only a few months ago that Scintilla's friend Yulia let slip she was planning an escape of her own. And yet, Yulia's still here. You should go and speak with her. Find out if she knows anything. She lives in the villa next door.
Lulia.
On your best behavior, I trust? What now?
What's your story?
I'm a legionary of the 1st Italica, but there's not a lot of fighting down here. So the magistrate has assigned me other duties. I act as the magistrate's right-hand man, keeping an eye on his daughters. Daughter, I should say. And the others. And making sure they're all behaving. I also keep a register of new arrivals.
How did you end up here?
I'm from Liguria, up north originally. I was doing all right for myself. 12 years into my service. Had a nice girl lined up for when it was all over. Not anymore. She's probably figured I'm long gone and moved on by now. I try not to think about it. My commander sent me to deliver a message to Rome. While I was there, I thought I'd do something nice for my girl and pick up a little pendant from a silversmith. That's when the crowd started flooding through the streets, shouting fire. People were screaming, trampling each other. Then some Genetricum Fugitor tried to take advantage of the chaos and pinch my pendant. I remember chasing him through the crowds, down towards the river. And then, nothing. Blacked out and woke up near here. No idea how I ended up floating so far downriver. But I'm fortunate to be alive, I suppose.
Sorry to hear that.
Ah, don't be. As Seneca the Younger said, difficulty strengthens the mind, as labor does the body. That said, Sentilla's disappearance has been more difficult than I'd care to admit.
Can you tell me about the magistrate?
He's one of the better commanders I've ever had, that's for sure. Good stoic. Lives by Seneca's words. Treat your inferior as you would wish your superior to treat you. Can't ask for much more than that.
Do you know a way out of here? No. Can I see the citizen register?
I don't see why not. Just make sure I get it back by tomorrow.
Reading mode. Aurelia, commoner, tavern keeper, tavern in slum, claims no way out. Okay. Lord, yeah, wife from central. So that seems to be somebody we would like to talk to then. Aurelia about her sisters and parents. Theseus, merchant, card. Disney warehouse. Hannibal died in Bristol. A bush, a fisherman, slum disappeared. Divya, hairdresser, not refusal to work. Money lending. Not to be trusted. Naivia locked herself in palace. Rufus, increasingly agitated. Cynthia. Villa missing. I wonder if she has something to do with the fisherman then, huh? Bush?
Of course.
Yeah, what do you think about the Golden Rule?
Well, as I always say, it's kind of like a divine version of the practice of decimation in the Legion. By threatening to execute 1 in 10 men, the idea is to ensure order and discipline among everyone. And it works. If you knew you could be executed because your brother-in-arms is planning a mutiny, well, you'd bloody well watch him like 100-eyed Argus, wouldn't you? Because your only chance of saving yourself is to stop bad things before they happen. Makes us all responsible for keeping each other in check. It's brutal, of course, but effective. The Legion wouldn't be the most formidable force in the world without it.
Are you saying you're in favor of it?
What's done is done. I was forced to execute my brothers in arms, and those memories will always visit me in my sleep. But life is harsh, and I've come to accept my lot. As with the Golden Rule, I don't have any control over it. So railing against it would be like trying to stop the seasons or the tides. As Seneca the Younger wrote, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. For he that is so wants nothing.
Where I'm from, that would be considered collective punishment, which is a war crime.
A war crime? Isn't that a contradiction in terms? As Cicero said, in times of war the law falls silent.
Our worlds are very different.
Seems that way. War crimes. Ridiculous.
Yep, so for something else.
If you like.
Who are you going to vote for?
Not that it's any of your business. But my loyalty is and always will be with Sentius. Unfortunately, I don't think my vote is going to make any difference today. See, Domitius has been going around town, shoring up votes for Malleolus with lies, bribery and intimidation. The man's a savage. But he's a gladiator, so people fear and respect him more than they should. Sentius knows about it, of course, but he doesn't have the same rat cunning as Malleolus. This place will be different with that sleaze at the helm. But I try not to worry about things I can't change.
Can I help?
I appreciate the thought, but you're new here, and I just can't see how you could make an impact in the time between now and the election this afternoon. In any case, if you're interested in the election, go and have a chat with Equitia, the Vestal Priestess. She'll be overseeing proceedings.
Do you know a way out of here?
I went around asking the same questions when I first arrived. Never did find a way out. But I learned how to accept my situation. To bear trials with a calm mind robs misfortune of its strength and burden. That's from Seneca the Younger, if you're interested.
Can you talk about Scintilla?
What business is that of yours?
I'm looking for her.
A lot of people have been looking for her. But it's been 3 weeks, and we've found nothing. What makes you think you can do better?
Sometimes fresh eyes help.
I suppose that's true.
Did you notice anything suspicious before she went missing?
Scintilla was always a kind, well-behaved young woman. I admit, her disappearance really caught me off guard. If anyone knows something, I'd expect it to be Sentia, Malleolus, Claudia, or Domitius. But none of them will tell me anything. You might fare better though, I suppose. Fine.
Hey,
All right.
keep going.
Please keep an eye out for anything that might lead us to Scintilla.
Okie dokie. I don't know if it has a... no. So save, just in case.
Ah, you've returned. Do you have any news about your investigation?
What's your story?
Sextus Sentius Imperiosus is my name, though magistrate
Sextus
is the proper way to
Sentius.
address me. Before I wound up here, I was a
Interesting name.
decurion in the cavalry of Imperial Rome, helping protect civilization from the barbarians.
What's a decurion?
It's a cavalry officer. I had 30 men under my command. This was my uniform.
Why are you still wearing it?
As magistrate, I usually wear a toga, but today I may need to survive long enough to create the portal for you, so it seemed prudent.
How did you end up here?
My men and I were at the Emporium in Rome as honor guard for a visiting dignitary arriving upriver by barge. Now the port is usually bustling, but just as our guests arrived, waves of people began running toward the river from streets and alleyways in every direction. They were trying to escape a terrible fire. Unfortunately, the crowd sent my horse into a panic, and I remember it losing its footing by the water's edge. The next thing I knew, I was waking up on a riverbank not far from here in the company of some stranger. I went looking for my horse and discovered that
My
lonely
horse, my
temple.
horse.
You can probably figure out the rest.
How did you come to be a magistrate?
I was elected 7 months ago, uncontested because of my command experience. Since then, there's been growing agitation for another election. They're supposed to be annual, but I agreed to hold it sooner, hoping it would placate my constituents. Unfortunately, it just seems to have emboldened certain elements instead.
So about something else?
Very well.
You know a way out of here?
If I did, I'd have led these people out of here already.
Well, I had to ask because it was an option, okay? What do you think about the Golden Rule?
I've had plenty of time to think about it. Let me see if I can sum up my thoughts.
Oh my god.
I've always considered my guiding star to be the well-being of the Roman people. Our survival and prosperity have always hinged upon honoring the peace of the gods, the sacred accord between the gods and the people of Rome. Give the gods what they want and we all prosper. Dishonor them and we all die. It's as simple as that. The real enemy in this place is not the Golden Rule, but human failings. The temptation to slide into degeneracy, greed, and hubris. I trust that answers your question.
Can we talk about what's going to... some question about my investigation.
Ask then.
No,
Good.
there's nothing new
Now,
there.
was there something else you wanted to discuss?
Who's going to break the Golden
Of course.
Rule?
What is it?
Never mind.
Why then did you say... it doesn't matter. It looks like you'll have to continue your investigation. Now, was there anything else you wanted to ask?
Nope.
Thank you. I'll be waiting here for news.
So he is the one who summoned us. Save game. Oops. Hello, stranger.
What were you two talking about?
What?
Don't play dumb. I saw you. Having a shady little chat with old man Sentius up on his balcony. What's he offering you? Money? Favours? What's your vote worth to him?
We weren't talking about the election. Oh, what's it worth to you?
A spit of a fornicareer. We've lined up all the votes we need already. Mark my words, Malleolus is going to be magistrate by the end of the day. And if I tell him you sided with that feeble old has-been, that you've been trying to undermine his hard-won victory, you'll have picked the wrong patron. Got it?
Wasn't thinking of interfering, but now I am.
Oh, you just made a big mistake. Malleolus is going to hear all about this, and he'll make you suffer the tortures of Tartarus while you're still alive.
Tell Amelius he's going down.
Sturcum Adite.
Sentius and Amelius, same excrement, a different smell. It's pretty much how it is with politicians. A big climber ball, if only they could support my weight. You need to go on a diet, Coloria. Wines cannot hold your weight.
Hey, you're not thinking about going into the cistern, are you?
I wasn't, but now I am.
Contrary little cap at murder, aren't you?
Why shouldn't I go down there?
Nobody's told you about Hannibal? Ugh, why do I have to do everything round here? So, there was this guy called Hannibal, right? Funny accent. Used to go down into the cisterns looking for junk he could clean up and sell. One day, a few weeks back, he comes out and tells me the cisterns are haunted. Said he could hear spirits wailing. Of course, nobody believed him, because who trusts a Carthaginian, right? Anyway, a few days later, he goes back in. And hours go by, and he hasn't come back out, yeah? So I go down after him, and it's dark. But in the distance, I can just make out his body, sprawled out on the ground. And hunched over him was something that made my blood run cold. No word of a lie. I saw a creature. Like the corpse of a man who'd been flayed. And it was eating Hannibal.
Couldn't I have broken the golden rule?
If it was a man, maybe. But I swear on my life this was no man. More like a Strix. Or some Versipelus that feeds on human flesh. I didn't stick around to see which.
So what did you do?
Well, any sane person would have done. I legged it out of there and put a sign at the door to warn the others.
That's a great story, man. Still going down there.
Without a weapon? Well, it's your funeral.
Yes, we need to find a weapon first. Okay. Save that one. Inkyard. Stove. Note to Octavia. Directions to a secret shrine, huh? An anonymous friend to Octavia. May the Lord bless and keep you. I'm sorry I could not risk discussing this with you in person, but if I'm right, then you are a believer like me. You may not be able to worship openly here, but know that you're not alone. If you ever feel like you need somewhere to pray, there is a special place waiting for you deep in the caves behind the theater. Turn right at the first fork and again at the second. Yes, I can hear you. All right. Lucretia!
Give me a moment. Sorry I'm such a mess. I just lost a patient and a dear friend. Yulia. She was a good woman.
What happened?
She was poisoned. She came in here frothing at the mouth. Normally I'd treat her with resin of silphium, a rare plant which is perfect for this sort of thing. And I knew Decius had some at his market stall, right around the corner. So I ran over there, but he just looks at me with this evil smile and says, "That'll be 1,000 denarii." There was no way I could afford that, and he knew it. Then that toad shrugs and says, "Supply and demand. I guess you don't value your friend's life that highly." Anywhere else, I'd just pay a thug to steal it from his stall. But there's no way I can do that down here with the golden rule. So all I could do is come back here and just watch her die. I kept on apologizing. And now I'll never know who poisoned her, or how they managed to do it without breaking the golden rule, or why she cursed that snake's cruel black eyes with her dying breath.
Something I can do to help?
Well, unless you have the power to bring someone back from the dead, there's really just one thing you can do. Get me that silphium resin. I'm going to have another patient in here soon. Could be in the next day or in the next hour. And I will not allow this to happen again. I don't care how you get it, but you have to make it happen. Because if I lose another patient this way, I swear to the gods below, not even the golden rule will stop me from marching up to that Genetricum Fututo and scratching his eyes out.
Let's see what I can do. What's your story?
I'm Lucretia, and I'm going to be straight with you. I'm not a physician. This is Nevia's clinic. I've just been filling in ever since she disappeared. I'm tired and out of my depth and miserable all the time. But I'd rather take this on myself than let one of you lot mess it up.
How did you end up here?
My husband and I moved to Rome from Caesarea. He embraced the Roman way more than I would have liked, and turned into an awful philanderer. I would have divorced him and demanded the return of my dowry, but I knew he would sooner have me killed than give me my right. So I waited for the right time to take what was mine and disappear. And then the fires came. As he prepared to evacuate our villa, I gathered our most precious belongings, coins and gemstones, and the moment his back was turned, I ran. I could barely see for the smoke, and the streets were full of people trampling each other. I ran for the river, like everyone else, and leapt in. The next thing I remember, I was waking up on a riverbank, not far from here.
How'd you hear that?
It's all right. Say what you will about this place, at least my fornicating husband will never find me. And while there's no shortage of snakes here, at least with the golden rule, they have to try to be discreet about it.
Why are you working out of a shrine?
Oh, this shrine was in use as a clinic long before any of us arrived here. Kind of strange to set up a clinic in the temple of the god of disease. But the god who inflicts a curse is also the only god who can undo it. So I suppose praying to Apollo for healing kind of makes sense.
Tell me more about Naibia.
Well, she used to run the clinic. She was a midwife, not a physician, but she was the closest thing we had down here. And she was good too, until she suddenly lost all interest in us. One day she told me she'd made some profound discovery about the golden statues. "This changes everything," she kept saying. But I had no idea what she was talking about. The last time I saw her, the last time any of us saw her, she was muttering to the statues, like she could talk to them. And then she shut herself in the palace, barred the door from the inside, and nobody's seen her since. She's been gone so long now, we figure she's either dead or up to something so strange that she doesn't want anyone else to know about it. But I really wish I could reach her, because that's the only hope I have of solving a troubling problem. A real thorn in the paw situation. One of my patients is suffering from terrible rheumatism. His joints are inflamed, and he's in constant pain. I really shouldn't say. He wouldn't like it. And he's a little bit scary. He's become so irritable that the smallest things set him off. And I worry he'll end up losing his temper and lashing out. And you know what that means. I just know Nevia would know how to treat him, assuming she's still alive. But nobody seems to know how to get into the palace.
See what I can do.
Thanks, I suppose.
Do you know a way out of here?
I wish. Some people here need proper medical care, not the half-baked, hanging by a thread excuse for treatment I'm giving them.
I have no interest in wrestling games,
don't
Holly.
get sick or injured here. I'll do my best to treat you, but I'm out of my depth and dangerously short on everything you can imagine.
Think about the golden rule then.
A city without sin might sound good on paper, but whoever dreamt it up didn't think it through. Maybe it was an attempt to create some kind of utopia. But snakes like Decius will always find loopholes to exploit. And what can we do about it? Absolutely nothing. In some ways, we are worse off because we can't take the law into our own hands.
Hearing statues whispering, is that normal?
Oh no. Sorry, I don't mean to worry you, but no, that is definitely not normal. There was one other person who claimed she could hear the statues talking to her. But that was Nevia, and she went a little mad.
Tell me more about Nevia.
Well, she used to run the clinic. She was a midwife until she suddenly lost all interest in us. One day she told me she'd made some profound discovery about the golden. This changes everything, she kept saying. The last time I saw her, the last time any, and then she shut herself in the. She's been, but I read
Go on.
He's become. I just.
Heard that.
Thanks, I suppose.
We talk about Lulia?
Sure. What do you want to know?
Do you hear her say anything about escaping?
How did you know that? Yes, she did mutter something about the only way out. A few times, but nothing more than that, I'm afraid.
You think she was poisoned or was it self-inflicted?
Do you really want to know? I mean, if somebody poisoned her, then surely they would have broken the golden rule, and so maybe it's best we don't discuss it.
Do you know what poisoned her?
Hemlock, I believe.
Any reason why she might have wanted to die?
I haven't seen her in months. She's not allowed to leave Malleolus' villa, and they are quite secretive.
Okay.
Gladly.
Something else?
Well, come back if you get sick or injured. Day or night, I'll do what I can.
Collection of barbaric-looking medical implements, including forceps and shears. Let's search through here. Mortar and pestle haven't changed much in the last 2 millennia.
May Apollo keep you safe.
Ah, a fellow traveler from a faraway land. Greetings, I'm Georgius. It gladdens me to see another foreigner in our midst. We must stick together, you and I. And I must say, my sartorial friend, your clothing is most extraordinary. Leather boots in place of sandals, trousers with precise stitching, and such a curious design. I have traveled distant trade routes from the markets of Damascus to the farms of India, and never have I seen anyone dressed quite like you. Tell me, I must know. From which exotic part of the world do you hail?
From beyond the edge of the known world.
Then you are an explorer, like me. Wonderful. You must have many stories to share. I cannot wait to hear them. We will have much time here to get to know one another. But for now, do you require assistance? I know you do not require clothing, so information perhaps?
What's your story?
My story? How kind of you to ask. I am a tailor and I run the humble shop in the forum.
Why set up a tailor shop here?
You mean to say, with all the turmoil and terror of the Golden Rule and so few customers, why bother setting shop at all?
It does seem kind of unnecessary.
I'll tell you, it is precisely because of the Golden Rule that I wish to remind my friends of the importance of looking one's best. I say, the more of our customs we preserve down here, the more we can preserve a semblance of normality, the better our chances of keeping our heads. Don't you agree?
Fair enough. How did you end up here?
A good question. A very good question indeed. And I would be happy to tell you if only I could remember it clearly myself.
Why don't you tell me what you do remember?
I remember I had just been to Rome to sell an extraordinary selection of wares. And drowning in coin, I decided to celebrate my success. I rented a prestigious villa by the Tiber, invited over a few select friends, and we began making our way through some of the most exquisite wine money could buy. Quite a lot of it, in fact. Now, I have had visions and awoken in strange places before. I have even found myself naked in the desert sands more than once, but none of that compares to this.
Is that what you
This
Greeks
time,
do?
I remember
Florian?
people screaming.
Party
and
hard with
falling
wine
into a
and
void
end
as
up
empty
naked
as
in the
time before
desert?
creation, gasping for air, and then nothing. When I regained my faculties, I was lying naked by the banks of the Tiber, gods know how many miles from my villa.
Sounds like you overdid it.
Of course, of course. In any case, it seems I'd been rescued and resuscitated by a benevolent stranger. I went to find firewood for his campfire, stumbled across a cave, and discovered that trapdoor temple. And here I am.
Talk about something else.
Anything you like.
Do you know a way out of here?
Shh! Not so loud! What are you playing at?
No way out or not?
I must ask you to stop that at once. Have you not been told about the last attempt? Oh, then I suppose this duty falls to me. It is a long story.
Not as if I'm going anywhere.
Aha, you are witty. I like that. Of course, the first question any of us asks when we first arrive is, how do I escape? It is only natural after all. And scaling the chasm wall is out of the question, for it is simply too steep and too far. But as they say, if the wind fails, use the oars. And here the second option is to leave the way we came in, through the shaft above the bathhouse. See, the shaft is quite high, but if one gathered up enough wood, one could make a series of ladders and climb one's way out.
Why hasn't anyone done that yet?
They have. I am getting to that. There was an attempt, made by resourceful fellows who lived here some years ago. They even decided to keep records of their escape attempt for posterity. Unfortunately, as soon as they began to carry the first ladder down the hallway, they heard a godlike voice shake the entire city, and that, tragically, is where their tale ends. So it seems that to merely attempt escape is to invite the wrath of whichever god oversees this place, and so I say it is best to not even discuss it aloud.
Got it. Thanks. What do you think about the Golden Rule?
Yes. The many shall suffer for the sins of the one. As a Greek, this is nothing new to me. It is how our gods operate.
Why do you say that?
Have you not heard the tale of the god Hades? He was the first to learn this dreadful lesson when he abducted Persephone and imprisoned her in the underworld. When Demeter, the mother of Persephone, learned of this, she did not punish Hades, the guilty one. Instead, she changed the climate of Earth, so that it became hot and dry. Nothing grew. The grain turned to empty husks, and the rivers dried up. Innocent people died by the tens of thousands, until at last the other gods were forced to act, lest they have no worshippers left. So yes, we know this rule. This has always been the case. The Golden Rule has merely brought it into focus.
What can we do about it?
If we are to survive, I say we must each keep the simple wisdom of Thales of Miletus, first of the 7 sages of Greece, who said, "Avoid doing what you would blame others for doing."
Easier said than done.
Regrettably, I think you are correct, my friend. For even if 99% of us adopt this principle, that will never be enough. Sadly, no matter how well we protect ourselves, the life's work of many good people can be undone in the blink of an eye by a single selfish act.
I know, I've seen it happen.
Ah, the voice of experience. I am sorry for your loss, my friend. But on a lighter note, I will say one thing for the Golden Rule. For all their grim and haunting poses, these golden statues do make magnificent models for my clothing, do they not?
Who are you going to vote for?
That, my friend, is quite the dilemma. But after some reflection, I'm leaning toward voting for Malleolus. I do not enjoy the thought of another visit from Domitius if I voted the wrong way.
Anything I can do to change that?
Nothing comes to my mind, my friend. I hope that our paths cross again soon, my friend.
Let's see. That's for cotton clothing. This appears to have been extracted from plants and insects.
Salve.
Shovel. A Roman fire shovel made of bronze. It smells like ash. Smells like ass, I was gonna say first, but... If you're gonna keep on with CJ's ass since yesterday. I have to get the other one. Oh. Mouse wheel. Summary, not insinuating that Virgil is a sinner. Virgil, they may not see you yet, but I want you to know I see you. Virgil, do you really want to be responsible for the sin that destroys us all?
Ah, a new face. Salve, and welcome to a little community. My name's impossible to pronounce for most people, so you can just call me Virgil. You arrived on a sad day, friend. What with Julia's
He's a
death?
Frenchman?
I wish we could have met under better circumstances.
Sounds like it. Yep, let me get my last cup of coffee for today. Right back. Can be.
Well, I'm an architect. Or at least I was back in Rome. That's probably too grandiose a term to describe what I do here. Help out with repairs and try to stop old buildings from collapsing on people. That kind of thing. But you probably don't want to hear about the ingenious architecture or mysterious history of this place.
Bullshit. Tell me about that city's history.
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Some of these shrines were constructed hundreds of years ago, which means Romans have been arriving here for at least that long. But there's one thing that puzzles me. The oldest shrine in this avenue isn't Roman at all. It's Greek.
The Greeks' fault. Larry suit Larry, huh? Isn't it common for Romans to copy Greek art and architecture?
Well, yes, that could be the reason. Or it could mean that there were Greeks living and worshipping here before the Romans arrived. Which begs the interesting question, who really built this place? And could it be far older than any of us imagine? If only there was a way we could talk to the people who came here before us. The stories they could tell.
Architecture then?
Gladly. Personally, my favorite thing about this place is the aqueducts. Those series of adjoining arches. They're an ingenious feat of Roman engineering with a very practical purpose. They take fresh water coming from outside the city and distribute it all across the chasm. It's funneled below the palace and into a cistern beneath the Great Temple. Some of it flows down into another cistern beneath the villas, and the rest is funneled to the shrine of Proserpina, where it fills the lake.
Larry the Demon
to
Shopkeep,
fish
okay.
and farm.
I can't remember that one. To bring water into the city, could we use them to escape?
Hey, not so loud. Just talking about that could anger the gods for all we know. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you'd have to find a way inside somehow. Just, please, try to be a bit more discreet about it.
Okay. Tell me about the temple up on the bluff.
You mean the Great Temple? This one's a bit of a mystery. Given the way it's positioned so prominently, looking down on us, it's clear that whoever built it felt it was the most important temple in the city. Unfortunately, someone else went out of their way to keep its purpose a mystery. You see, usually a temple is dedicated to a
Shadow Warrior
particular
3
god,
got delayed
like
too,
Proserpina or Diana
like every
or
other
Apollo.
game.
Usually, that god is obvious, but in this case, it's unknown. There's an obelisk out the front, which probably used to bear the name
I
of
wish
this
they would
unknown
stop
god.
giving dates
appears
for game
some
releases and
barbarian
just say
defaced
if
it.
it's gonna be
And of
released
course we can't
this
get
year or
inside
not,
because it's
or
locked
half
up tighter than the temple of
fall,
Saturn in Rome.
summer,
And that
spring.
contains the treasury.
You
So
just
we're
say
all
it will be
left
done when
wondering,
it's done.
which god is that temple dedicated to? And could it be the one responsible for the Golden Rule? Unless somebody figures out a way inside, I suppose we'll never know.
Yeah, it got delayed to next year, I think. Was it February next year? Let's talk about something
Of
else.
course.
And you know, way out of here.
You wouldn't believe how often the new ones ask that question. But I tell you the same
No,
thing
we
I tell
had this
everyone else.
discussion
There
now.
are much worse places to live out your days. You might have a few sleepless nights thinking about the Golden Rule, but once you get used to the fear,
Yeah,
knowing that
I
a
know.
single slip-up could cost you everything, it's not too bad. Nothing new to me, anyway.
Just give us a date when they are close to being done with the game. What do you mean?
Oh, I just mean I grew up in the Batavi tribe, far to the north in Noviomagus, and learned to expect a bit of hostility. They weren't nearly as tolerant as the Romans.
What do you think about the Golden Rule?
Some people say it's divine, the work of a god, but I'm not so sure. It just seems so flawed to me. Like it's
Yeah, that's
distinctly
enough. Just keep
human.
people
I mean,
informed about
once you've been here long
progress.
enough, you'll notice people doing things that just seem so wrong to you. But this so-called God doesn't seem to care, which means one of two things. Either you don't know the difference between right and wrong, or this unknown God doesn't. And I'm pretty sure I know the difference. Do you?
I think so, yes.
Good. Then I hope you'll agree that there are only two ways of dealing with unfair rulers. The first is to leave. The second is to remove the ruler from power. And it seems leaving may not be an option.
Yeah, and that usually never goes well. How do you remove a god from power?
Good question. It's best if I say no more, but I hope you'll give it some thought.
I noticed the graffiti. Why does someone think you're a sinner?
Look, I haven't done anything wrong, if that's what you're thinking. Somebody just has a problem with my preference for male company.
Oh, you like men?
Hey, nothing gets by you, huh? Sorry, that was mean. Yes, I like men. And when you grow up in the north, as I did, in the city of Noviomagos, you expect a bit of hostility. The Batavi are not known for their tolerance. I saw enough friends killed or driven away to know the cost of not keeping your personal affairs to yourself. So I hid who I was for, what was it, nearly 10 years? Watching what I said and where I looked. But that kind of fear eats away at you slowly, until living isn't any better than the thing you were afraid of. Needless to say, since I'm now living underground, halfway across the known world with an assumed name, my openness didn't go down well among the enlightened folk of the Batavi.
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
Nice of you to say, but not necessary. In any case, the Romans are far more accepting, and among them, I get to be who I am. Or at least I thought that was the case. It seems I was wrong.
Do you know who's writing the graffiti?
It's not just graffiti. I have quite the collection of handwritten notes too. The strange thing is, I keep my personal affairs to myself. I've never really been interested in any of the men here. Not my type. So I'm not sure what I could have done to upset this person.
You said no to the person.
I'd say it's probably one of those cultists.
Cultists?
Strange bunch. They insist there's only one God, and that he considers my nature a sin. Can you believe that? If there are any of them here, they won't admit it. Not since they supposedly burnt down half of Rome last year and went into hiding. All I know is, if these threats keep escalating, eventually my secret admirer is going to cross a line and break the golden rule.
I'm gonna look into it for you.
What? Really? I didn't expect that. But thanks. It's always a pleasure to meet someone so selfless. I'm glad you arrived when you did. I'd start by figuring out who the cultists are. Or maybe ask around among the merchants here. Someone who lives or works in the forum must have seen something. But if you find them, please don't hurt or humiliate them. I suspect they're just confused.
I'll see what I can do. So who are you going to vote for?
Well, Malleolus is talking about loosening some of the restrictions in this place. And while it's all a bit vague, at least he has a vision.
Anything I can do to change that?
My vote isn't for sale, if that's what you're asking.
Maybe if I
Nice to
help
talk
him
to
with his
you.
problem, huh? Bakery. Stone looks like flour and grain are poured in from above and ground between the stones as the handles are rotated. A Roman recipe for bread. Okay. Shopping list. Things to buy once I have escaped. A villa on the Aventine Rome, 2-horse chariot, seat on the Senate, 4-horse chariot, a villa on the Bay of Naples, 10-horse chariot, 12 slave girls, pale and plump. Okay. Genius. Okay,
Hello? Hello?
Hello. What's your story, buddy?
My name's Dooley. I live here now because I got in trouble and they said they had to lock me up.
So what did you do then, buddy?
I don't know. I don't remember things so good. I think it's just because I was looking for treasure.
Did somebody think you were going to steal?
Yes. But I wasn't. I was just looking.
Is that all?
They said I did it more than once. But I can't remember things so good. Then they called me mean names. They called me a liar, Billy.
Liability?
Yes. They said I have to live here now and gave me this letter. But I'm not good with words. Do you think you could read it for me?
Sure, hand it over, buddy. Let's see. Letter from Sentius to Dooley. Reading mode. Magistrate Sentius to Dooleys. Writing to you in relation to your incorrigible antisocial behavior arising from your obsession with an alleged lost treasure. While I'm sympathetic to your plight and the passing of your guardian Hannibal some weeks ago, I wish to impress upon you an important message. The treasure you seek does not exist. Given your memory limitations, it seems likely you simply misremembered. More importantly, since you have on several occasions been caught trespassing, cloning around the cisterns, which is strictly off limits to all citizens, I have reluctantly come to the conclusion that you are a liability to this community and must have your freedom limited, lest you break the golden rule. It is my hope that this letter will assist you to remember why you are incarcerated should you experience further lapses in memory.
What does it say?
It says they caught you trespassing several times and they locked you up to stop you breaking the golden rule.
My treasure.
Treasure. Is this channel points you're looking for now, Calorian?
My friend Hannibal used to look after me. He said he always would. But then, he died. It was very sad. He said if anything ever happened to him, I had to find something very precious hidden away. He gave me this key and made me promise to keep it safe until I found the treasure. But I couldn't find him. All I remember is he said something about the cisterns, but when I went up to the high one, they put me in here. Now nobody looks after me. Except my friend Galerius and Ek, the priestess lady. She's a nice lady.
Give me the key, I can try to find out what it unlocks.
Hannibal said I shouldn't give it to anyone I didn't trust. But maybe you could help me get out of here. Then I would trust you a lot.
We'll talk to the magistrate about getting you out of here.
Galerius already tried that. He said the magistrate wouldn't listen, no matter what.
So maybe it's time we had a new magistrate.
Like Galerius? He's nice. I like Galerius. He made me a doll and everything. If you help make him magistrate, he can get me out of here, and I can give you the key to my treasure. Hannibal said it was in the cisterns. I can't remember what it was, just that it was way up high and very precious.
Let's see what I can do. Do you know a way out of here?
You're going to let me out of here? Really?
That's not what I said. I asked if you know a way out of here.
Please. I hate it here.
Okay.
It makes me very sad. Oh.
Never mind. What do you think about the golden rule?
Gold? You mean
Oh my god.
treasure?
Never mind. Let's talk about your treasure.
My friend Hannibal used to look after me.
Okay. That's actually a choice.
He said he always would. But then
It's
he
gonna
said
be the same
he
one.
gave me this key, and all I
Yeah.
now know but
Fair enough. You're going now.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Citizens, we have a quorate body of voters gathered here to elect the city's magistrate. The candidates are Sextus Sentius Imperiosus and Marcus Malleolus Gurges. As agreed, we shall dispense with ballots and candidates will abstain from voting. Let's make this quick. As I say your name, call your vote. I'll start with you.
Doesn't say steal, so let's take them.
Georgius, Dacius,
Malleolus.
Galerius,
I'm staying. I'm just here to observe.
Virgil,
Malleolus.
Rufius,
Malleolus.
and finally,
Malleolus. Who else?
citizens, you have made your decision. Your new magistrate is Marcus Malleolus Gurges.
So where's this one?
May Apollo keep you safe.
Doesn't have any. Just that one. Gonna wait for them to be done with that stupid thing.
Help! You have to do something! A man arrived in the baths. Real nasty sort, with his face all covered up. And he's got a weapon. You have to do something, or he's gonna break the golden rule.
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you. He's still in there, somewhere. I have to hide. Find me in this empty shrine.
No,
When it's over.
it doesn't matter who sits in the politics. It's all the same shit, just different form. You hear that?
Hear what?
The warriors whisper no.
What? We don't have time for this. I have to go.
Never mind, I don't know why I said it.
Ugh.
Like. Hey, why can't
The
they move?
shrine is collapsing.
Why did I end up here now all of a sudden?
The many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
This was not the way. I was hoping for a shortcut or something, you know? No, because she died up there. Oh, what the heck?